The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you. Or if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, hit the notification and select all. Imagine a country fighting its life against external threats, only to discover that the biggest danger is sleeping in the very same barracks as the loyal soldiers. A massive scandal has just broken out of Burkina Faso that shakes the very foundation of the nation's military hierarchy. The Burkinabe Ministry of Security, led by Minister of Security Mamadou Sana, has officially released a deeply troubling statement. The intelligence services have intercepted a web of secret communications that exposes a high-level military plot designed to completely overthrow the state and plunge the nation into absolute rule. This is not just a regular story about a military coup. This is a maliciously planned insider operation where top-ranking officers allegedly sold out their own brothers in arms to T groups networks for the most sinister ultimate goal: to bring back foreign control over the motherland. According to the official intelligence report from the Burkina Faso TV, the trouble began when intelligence agents intercepted highly sensitive communications between a specific individual and active T group leaders. These were not casual communications. The leaked data contained precise coordinates and details regarding the positions of the internal defense and security forces, the positions of the patriotic volunteers defending the villages, and the top secret details of ongoing military operations. When the technical teams ran in-depth analysis on the intercepted data, they uncovered a horrifying truth. The man feeding these vital wartime intelligence directly to the T groups was Lieutenant Barry Abdurrahman, a high-ranking officer belonging to the nation's own military justice battalion. Investigation quickly discovered that this lieutenant had been irregularly absent from duty for several weeks and was already facing official desertion proceedings. But the web goes much wider than just one deserting lieutenant. As the intelligence service monitored his communication channels, they uncovered a network of highly planned military conspirators scattered across different sectors, all working together. The official broadcast names the other key military figures linked to this betrayal. The network included an armed forces officer named Corporal Joanin, a former sub-officer of the army named Zubo Loko, and a heavily placed officer serving directly inside the Integrated Operations Center of Burkina Faso, Commander Ouagadougou Frederick. Most shocking of all, the plot reached across international borders to include a desert named Campori Constantin, an officer who was supposed to be on a training course in European country but fled to Abidjan instead.
Communicate. A few weeks ago, the intelligence services intercepted several communications between one individual and terrorist leaders on details of the positions of the Defense and Internal Security Forces, volunteers for the defense of the fatherland, as well as on military operations. After in-depth technical analysis, the individual is identified with the name of Bahari Abdraman and happens to be one officer of the armed forces Burkinabe. It is identified belonging to the Military Justice Battalion. Information seeking on him in his bird body will allow intelligence agents to discover that the bird is in a situation of irregular absence for a few weeks and is subject to desertion proceedings. Monitoring of Lieutenant Senator's communications. Barry Abraham will give additional links that will destroy the intelligence services, especially with one subscription, of the armed forces of the comparative name Johani, one former non-commissioned officer of the Burkina Bear Army named Zerbolauco, one Australia, in operation at the Integrated Operations Center of Burkina Faso, Commander Ouagadougou Frederick, one armed forces officer in training in one European country, but deserter for one while and having joined Abidjan of the name of Cabaret Constantin. The work of the intelligence services will destroy one big plot in preparation against our country, whose ultimate goal is to sow total chaos in order to place the country under any guise of an international organization, to regain control in 10 or 20 years. According to the instigators, sensitive information have been passed on to the terrorists in order to accentuate attacks against fighting forces and civilians with the aim of provoking a revolt against the authorities. Also, other strategies have been developed to disorient the intelligence services, to encourage them to make mass arrests within the defense and internal security forces, and hope, thus create frustration and one feeling of fear.
The official broadcast names the other key military figures linked to this betrayal. The network included an armed forces officer named Compaore Joani, a former staff officer of the army named Zimbo Liako, and a heavily placed officer serving directly inside the Integrated Operations Center of Burkina Faso, Commander Ouedraogo. Most shocking of all, the plot reached across international borders to include a deserter named Compaore Constantin, an officer who was supposed to be on a training course in a European country that fled to Abidjan instead. When you look at the design of this conspiracy, it becomes very clear that this was a psychological and physical war wrapped into one. The conspirators deliberately fed sensitive operational details to T groups cells so the armed groups could launch highly devastating, precise attacks against both the active combat forces and innocent civilians. The malicious intent behind these targeted massacres was to make the population lose all faith in the state, causing widespread anger and triggering a massive public revolt against the current authorities. But their strategy went even further into the dark. The plotters intentionally developed deceptive tactics to completely deorient and then trick the national intelligence services. They wanted to feed false trails to the state so that the government would react in panic and carry out massive blind arrests within the internal defense and security forces. By doing this, they hope to spark intense frustration, paranoia, and paralyzing feeling of fear among the loyal troops who are actively risking their lives on the front line. What was the ultimate price for this massive betrayal? Why will officers of the state choose to facilitate the murder of their own soldiers and citizens? The Burkinabe Intelligence Service uncovered the deepest and the most uncomfortable truth of all. The ultimate goal was to sow total and manageable chaos across the country. According to the instigators of this plot, this absolute chaos will be used to justify placing Burkina Faso under the direct trusteeship of an international organization. The plotters wanted to break the nation's sovereignty so completely that foreign interests could step back in and retake absolute control of the country for the next 10 or 20 years. This is the harsh reality of the front line today. It forces us to ask the most difficult questions. How can a nation fully defeat a symmetric enemy when the very secrets of its military operations are being sold from within the command centers? The meticulous work of the intelligence services managed to stop this plot before total chaos could be unleashed on the population, but it serves as a chilling reminder that the fight for sovereignty is fought on two battlefields at once, against the tea and the forest, and against the hidden traitors sitting in high positions. What do you think about this major intelligence breakthrough? When will Africa change? I am shocked today. So even with all the good things, we are still ready to give back our land into slavery just because of what we eat today. Who has cursed us in Africa? Who has cursed the African? We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Africa, West Africa, and in Burkina Faso.